Good afternoon, Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com here with your Hurricane Outlook and discussion for Friday, August 5th, 2016. A lot to talk about even though we don't have any major threats out there. I put together this graphic for my blog post earlier today, so kind of gives you an idea of what we're going to be discussing in today's video outlook. The dry, stable air out here associated with the Saharan air layer, an area trying to develop here in the northeast Gulf perhaps. Earl, the tenacious Earl here in the Bay of Campeche, it did manage to make it back out over the water just a little bit, and some of that energy going to spill over across Mexico into the southeast Pacific, where it will get together with a disturbance there and possibly create a separate system that heads up here towards the Baja. So let's start off with a look at the Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, and southeast Pacific. Here is Tropical Storm Earl here down in the extreme southern Bay of Campeche. It did manage to make landfall and then creep just enough north, and then it looks like it's going to cut back across Mexico. At least some of the energy in the mid and upper levels, the low-level circulation will be pretty much dissipated. Still bringing a lot of heavy rain here to portions of southeast Mexico. And then here's the disturbance down in the Gulf of Tehuantepec and areas off of the Pacific side of Mexico. This is just an area of convection, shower and thunderstorm activity, a little bit lower air pressure down here perhaps, but nothing developing out of this over the next several days. And up here in the northeast Gulf, we have this surface trough trying to develop here over the Gulf of Mexico. Simply put, an area of slight lower air pressure and convergence along kind of like a straight line, so that, it looks linear instead of an inverted trough like these tropical waves that come across. They typically have a shape like that with a trough axis, and this is just more of a surface area of low pressure, almost like a frontal boundary, but not quite the same. And oftentimes they can develop into a low pressure area and maybe a tropical depression. We'll look more at that in a moment. This is the computer model projection for Earl here, just kind of showing you the idea that this is going to more than likely come across Mexico, this energy, and some of that will get together again with the disturbance off of the Gulf of Tehuantepec region, and eventually high chance of it developing on into probably going to be Javier. That's the J storm. Yvette is like way out here somewhere, not bothering anyone. So interest along Pacific Mexico here, and then the southern Baja Peninsula. Need to watch this. First time we've had a potential impact from a tropical storm. Remember, the very first depression of the year in the Pacific was right down here. It was fairly weak, a rainmaker, and that was about it. This looks like it could be a little bit more substantial. I will be watching it closely, as will the Hurricane Center, of course. And then here's the area outlined in the northeast Gulf of Mexico associated with that surface trough. Mainly a lot of heavy rain coming out of this. There is some energy associated with it, convective activity. This is an infrared satellite shot, which gives you the idea of the cloud top temperatures. And you can see there is some shower and thunderstorm activity over that very warm water, but it's, stretched out and, like I said, more linear in nature. It hasn't begun turning yet, so that's good news. Just kind of unsettled weather here across the southeast as a whole over the next several days, but the big focus of rain looks like it's going to be in and around the Florida area. We'll take a look at that in more detail in a moment. There is some vorticity or spin in the atmosphere, energy available trying to get together, but it's stretched out. Look at that. It looks like a banana, clearly. So, bananas are stretched out. They're not round. They're not apples or oranges. Whereas down here with Earl, it's a lot more round shape, like an apple. Today's update brought to you by the fruits of the world, I guess. But, yeah, when you do see these in all seriousness stretched out like that, you say, okay, banana shape, not going to develop anytime soon. Round shape like an apple, yeah, you got to watch it closely. And that goes along with looking at what's left over of 96L. Yeah, some of that energy is right in here somewhere. It's hard to find. Maybe in here, but maybe in here too. It's tough to see because it's not doing very much. But that is energy that is still in the tropics, and it's going to be heading up this way over the next few days, and it might try to develop into something here, and we'll have to just wait and see. Basically, if we're not going to have development out in this region, you have to look in this region to see if something pops, because that energy that comes off of Africa doesn't just go away. I've talked about that numerous times, and I stand by that claim, and it makes sense. I mean, you can see these pieces, as weak as they are there. Now this is a look at the sea surface temperatures in the Gulf. Wanted to point this out because a couple of things come to mind. First of all, very warm on the ocean's surface here, 30 to 31 degrees Celsius, so very warm. But wait until I show you this like next Monday or Tuesday, and we'll probably look at it each day. But Monday, Tuesday, this will really get hammered, and we'll knock these sea surface temperatures down a little bit, because a lot of this is that shelf water that's fairly shallow. And so the rain and any churning up from wind, and if anything tries to develop, this will get mixed up fairly easily, churned up, and these water temperatures will drop a little bit, and we can actually see that. Now, one of the problems with this system, whether or not it becomes a tropical depression or a storm, if it's just a surface trough down here, a weak area of low pressure, it's going to bring an incredible amount of rain, it looks like, anywhere from southeast Louisiana over to parts of the Florida Peninsula and along a decent area of the I-10 corridor and parts of Interstate 75 corridor down here in Florida. So you need to be mindful of that if you're traveling to or are in the area. Whether or not this becomes a tropical system per se, with a name or a number or whatever, it's going to dump a lot of heavy rain, and that in and of itself can be a big, big problem. And, you know, it could also sort of front load everything for the rest of the season, right? We dump all this rain now, and then we still have August, September to get through. What if we have another system come through, a bona fide hurricane later? See, all of this stuff matters. And you say, well, it's just rain, it's not a tropical system, who cares? Well, believe me, it matters. So we're going to need to watch this very closely. Looking at the Saharan air layer, non-existent really in the western parts of the main development region here, but a fairly robust outbreak here, low latitude as well, reaching down to basically just shy of 10 degrees north latitude. So the intertropical convergent zone remains suppressed and squashed to the south, and this will probably be the norm for the next week to 10 days or so. I love this graphic, the precipitable water, and you can see this surge here was once 96L, and I guess it is, right? I mean, yeah, should be. So now it's over here. Boy, you can barely see it. I'll have to go back to that vorticity graphic. In fact, let's do that, because this shows us, yeah, I mean, I guess it's sitting in here somewhere, and these are just other areas of tropical wave energy. Too much going on out there, but this is a nice graphic. You can see a little bit of turning associated with this system, and this is the one that may try to get up here into the Bahamas and go on to develop. But you can also see the big intrusion of dry air here, reaching almost down to 10 degrees latitude. The Saharan air layer doing its dirty work. Actually, for the benefit of coastal residents, it's a very good thing. And there you can see Earl, all kinds of stuff that you can see in this picture, series of pictures and animation, of course. And the precipitable water will start to really come together up here. So anyway, just a nice look at how things are progressing. Once this changes back and we shut down the activity in the eastern Pacific over here, I think the hurricane season will spring to life, and we will get more robust systems coming off Africa. Remember, this stuff waxes and wanes. It comes and goes. The attention now will be focused in the western part of the Atlantic Basin, the Gulf of Mexico, and then over in the eastern Pacific, so really the western hemisphere, active but not in the deep tropics between Africa and the Lesser Antilles right now. But if it doesn't develop there, it'll develop elsewhere perhaps, and that's what we have to watch. All right, well, I'll be around all weekend. I'm not taking the weekend off to do anything else. I mean, I'll go to the beach or something, but I will certainly be watching this. And yeah, by the way, my office and my home is in Wilmington, North Carolina, along the beautiful Cape Fear coast. We have Wrightsville Beach. A little stormy out there now. Maybe it'll keep people out of the water, and I can head down to the beach later with the kids and enjoy that low 80-degree water temperature that's been prevalent since June. Very warm out there. But I'll be watching the tropics as well this weekend. I'll post updates on the site, on social media as needed, and then, of course, here on our video discussions. All right? So that's it from me for today. Have a great rest of your Friday. Thanks, as always, for tuning in. I'm Mark Sudduth for HurricaneTrack.com, and we'll talk again over the weekend.